Hi guys, sci-fi author Dave Barra here with another video blog. I hope to be doing more of these, preferably on Sunday nights, talking about sci-fi and what's going on in the world of entertainment and science fiction. So tonight's video, I want to talk about 2021 being the year of Dune. Dune, as you guys probably know, is the novel by Frank Herbert from 1965. It is considered generally the best science fiction novel ever written. It is considered as a literary book almost as much as it is a genre science fiction book. There are a couple of great editions of it that I've got. This one here is from Easton Press. I love this book. It's my favorite version of it. There's also this really cool book that has this really cool cover, and it comes from Folio Society. I highly recommend that. But there's a lot going on with Dune this year, and the reason why is that Denis Villeneuve, who directed Blade Runner 2049 and Arrival, is doing a new movie this year, of a new adaptation of Dune, and that's got everybody pretty excited. And there's just a lot of Dune products out there, and I kind of wanted to go over some of them and talk about how I feel about them and how I feel about their interpretations. I wanted to start here with Cara Dune, which really has nothing to do with Dune, but it's Cara Dune's a character from The Mandalorian on Disney Plus, and the actress Gina Carano, who is someone I admire a lot, got fired for not following the line of thinking that everyone told her she was supposed to follow. And that kind of cancel culture stuff needs to really stop. So we're not going to talk about Cara Dune more than that, but I would want to point out her name is Cara Dune. So that's the character. So when I get started, again, these books are both really great editions. If I can not knock this over. The Folio Society one has specifically commissioned illustrations in it. Really cool map of the North Pole, where most of the action takes place, in the city of Arrakeen. There are some fantastic illustrations. This one is, of course, of the Gom Jabbar scene, which, if you've seen the preview for the Dune 2021 movie, you'll know what that scene is. If you've seen the Frank Herbert version, you'll probably also see it. But this is a really great edition, again, with new illustrations. Dr. Yui and Duke Leto. One of my favorites is further back, I believe, which is... not that one. It's the Sandworm. There's Paul. Paul Atreides being the hero of the Dune saga. Some people, including Frank Herbert, this of course is Alia, his sister. Frank Herbert, I don't think, was ever very comfortable with Paul Atreides being a hero, but he was in fact a hero. The story is a great one, a story of betrayal, a story of family interactions, how royal families have behaved for centuries on this world and on others in the world of Dune anyway. So there's still one I'm looking for that I'm not finding. Where is I should really have this bookmarked. I really should. Oh, yeah. Yeah, this is where the Emperor is presented with a concubine, which is part of the book. But I think you can tell why it's my favorite scene. At any rate, that's a Folio Society version. I've talked about the Eastern Press version before, and this one as well. Now, if you go back to Dune in the movies, you have to go back to the 1984 David Lynch version of Dune, which a lot of people criticize, a lot of people don't like. It starred Kyle MacLachlan as Paul, Sting as Fade Routha, and if you see there, that's also I can't remember the actress's name now. Sean Young as Shawnee, and this version, although it is, like I said, criticized quite a bit, it's out on Blu-ray now, so you can get it on in the beauty of Blu-ray disc. This movie's criticized a lot. I think for its time, it was probably about as good a production as they could make it. The main problem, I feel, is the special effects, and someday soon, I would hope that they would do a special edition where they could update the special effects, because I think this version of Dune, despite its sort of Lynchian excesses, holds up pretty good over time. I'll talk a little bit about that more as we relate to some of the other products that I'm talking about here. So this version, I think, probably deserves another look. It deserves certainly an updating of the effects, because 1984, 83, 84, the effects just weren't really possible to do the kind of effects to do the movie justice. It was, I think, a valiant effort, and I think there's still some potential for that movie to be recut someday, and with new special effects, I think it could be a much better movie. I've seen a fan edit. There's a fan edit out there, and it's available on YouTube, and it's done by a fan who has taken the original Lynch movie and then the recut version, which is often called the matinee version, which is about a 3-hour long recut with additional scenes added. He's taken those two things, the best of them, and some of the deleted scenes, and he's put it into a movie that follows a little closer to the narrative of the book. But I have to say that although Lynch moved a few events around, the fact is that he pretty much follows the book in this movie. So I think this is a good version of Dune. Another version that people may not know a lot about is Frank Herbert's Dune, which was produced in the year 2000 on the Sci-Fi Channel. And it starred Alec Newman, a Scottish actor, as Paul Atreides. In the middle there, you see Julie Cox, who starred as Irulan. She has a slightly expanded role, or a significantly expanded role, more like what's in the book. In the movie, the thing is that this version, which is how many hours? I believe it's a 6-hour miniseries, but it's condensed. In this version, this is, I think, the unrated version, which does have some nudity, which was how it was broadcast in Europe and places like that. But it's again, not a great budget for this, because it was produced on television, and this is back before really even the best CGI was available. I think this version's pretty good. It's pretty true to the original story. There are some limitations in terms of budgeting, but I think it's a pretty good retelling of the Dune story. And then 3 years later, in 2003, they came out with Children of Dune. Frank Herbert's Children. I'm trying to keep the glare off of it there. Frank Herbert's Children of Dune, which, yes, starred James McAvoy, as well as Alec Newman, Julie Cox, Susan Sarandon, and yes, that's Alice Krieg, and famously from science fiction people, she was the Borg Queen in Star Trek First Contact. Alice Krieg plays Jessica, Paul's father, and James McAvoy plays Leto, which is Chani and Paul's son. This is a pretty good version too. I don't think it's quite up to the standards of the first one in terms of the writing, but this is one of James McAvoy's first really major starring roles. So he's very good in it, and the story itself really holds together pretty well, although I have to admit the books Dune Messiah, which is what the first 2 hours of this miniseries is based on, and Children of Dune really they're really not as good as stories, honestly, as the original Dune novel. So this is a good version of it. If you haven't seen it, it's well worth seeing, and I would recommend probably that you watch. If you're really a Dune aficionado, I would think you should watch the Lynch movie, maybe in a recut version. You should certainly watch the Sci-Fi Channel version, and even give Children of Dune a look. Now, beyond that, there are a lot of other Dune things going on this year. One of the things I picked up was Frank Herbert's Dune, the graphic novel. And this is called Book One of the graphic novel. It was written by an adaptation by Brian Herbert and Kevin J. Anderson. And it's basically approved by them. Brian Herbert is Frank Herbert's son. I don't think much of him as a writer. But I do think that this is a very good retelling of the tale. Little different look about it, of the uniforms and things going on, but you can see it's a high quality graphic novel, and it basically covers about half of the book, which is pretty close to what I think the new Denis Villeneuve version of Dune is going to show. But the interesting thing that I noticed in reading this was just how similar it was in terms of plot to the David Lynch Dune movie from 1984. The story itself, and I don't read the book all that often, but the story itself of Dune is pretty well known. And this graphic novel follows pretty closely to that story. And in fact, I think that indicates to me that David Lynch followed the Dune story pretty closely. There's Baron Harkonnen. So these, I think, this is worth picking up. It's worth going through again, all these things. I mean, you've got until September of 2021, which is when the new Dune movie comes out, the Denis Villeneuve version. And that this should all prepare. You have plenty of time to watch these things and pick up these graphic novels. And this is actually a hardcover book. I would really consider it to be a graphic novel. But you have plenty of time to do all this stuff and get ready for when the movie comes out in September of 2021. I'm going to be able to watch it on HBO Max on my 65-inch TV, and I think I will do that, and then watch the movie version in the theaters, because I'm assuming they're going to be letting us back into theaters. By then, I realize that's a difficult assumption, but who knows. Next, I want to talk about an actual comic book series, and this is Dune: House Atreides, which was a prequel novel written again by Brian Herbert and Kevin J. Anderson. I'm not going to pull these out and show you each one. I'm just going to show you the covers, but it's very well illustrated again. Okay, nothing back there. Very well illustrated again, and here you see, I believe, this is Duke Leto as a young man. It follows his story. And also follows the story of the young Baron Harkonnen, and also the story of young Shaddam IV and how he seizes power by poisoning his father, the Emperor Elrond IX. So this is number one. That's the cover that I like. That's the cover that I prefer. Number two is in a very similar vein. This is number two. And as a Bene Gesserit Reverend Mother, it's not Helen Gaius Moham, as I believe. Maybe it is. I'm not really sure, but she's not really in this until the fourth book, the fourth comic book, and these have been coming out, I don't know, fairly frequently. So it's a prequel, obviously. It tells the story of the young Duke Leto before the events of Dune, and this is number 3, which has got a sandworm on the cover and a young man in the desert. Not sure who that is. I would assume it's supposed to be Paul Atreides. And then I recently picked up number 4. Number 3, by the way, was very hard to find. It wasn't easy. I have not subscribed to the series. I don't even know how many there's going to be. I know there's a number 5 coming out March the 24th or 25th, I believe. And this is number 4. And I'm not really sure who this is supposed to be. Maybe it says something on the inside cover. I just need to spend a little more time looking at it. But again, these are all very well illustrated. The covers, I wish I could have kept kind of with this version of the covers. There's like multiple, they do this to make them more valuable, make it more collectible. They have multiple different variant covers. So these are different variants. This is probably my least favorite by a long ways, but it is this is a Fremen, obviously, with the blue eyes. It looks like a Fremen woman, so it could be Shani. I don't know. Probably not, though, because it's well before the time of Paul. Um, so anyway, this is a good series. I would recommend picking it up if you can find these. Grab them. And then lastly, I wanted to talk about a book that I'm currently reading. This is called Dune, the Duke of Caladan. And again, it's by Brian Herbert and Kevin J. Anderson. And it takes place essentially, and this is how far I've read of it, right about that much of the book. So it tells the story of Duke Leto as a man, the Duke of Caladan. And Paul Atreides is in this book is about 14, which is about a year before the events of Dune started to take place. So far, it's been very interesting. I'm not really a big fan of these Dune prequel books. I think they take a lot of license with what Herbert set up, and I think they go in directions that really aren't that interesting. And I don't think they're super particularly well written, to be honest with you. This one, however, is better. I did read one other prequel. Actually, it was a sequel to Dune that took place between Dune and Dune Messiah called Paul of Dune a few years back. And I thought that was a pretty good book. But to be honest with you, I can't really remember much about it now, 3, 4, 5 years later. But I am currently reading Duke of Caladan. I recommend this as a read. It's been pretty good so far, and it might kind of fill in, and now I've lost my spot. It will fill in some of the stuff of the backstory of what happened, I suppose, to set up the story of Dune. So there you have it. All these great Dune products, all these opportunities for you to read and catch up on the story before the movie arrives, and I highly recommend that you do that. 2021 is a big year for Dune. We'll find out if it's going to become a franchise or if it's simply going to remain a book and a story that was too difficult to tell in any sort of movie or TV or film adaptation. It's difficult going at sometimes. So I hope you guys can pick up on some of this stuff. I hope you enjoy it. And we look forward to seeing the movie in September. Thanks.